The big disproportionate offering is huge, huge, huge coming through. There's an offering coming through that's huge. There's something that is an abandonment thing that is like a struggle in this life that starts out where there's a disappearance, and I think this is a parental disappearance, and then there's abandonment issues that continue. Now you have this element of the peacemaker, of the deal broker, of the offers and the handshakes. Businesswoman is coming through. Businesswoman in a time of men. This is somebody that knows. I'm getting like the vibes of kind of like the Petra vibes. Understanding how to run things, run the situation, and have this going well is very, very more a matriarchal type of strong community than what you would think. We're back in time. We're way back. We're way back in time. Go here next. There's a huge amount of beauty and a leadership of women, a ring of women that comes through contracts with these women. This is something that is a group that has come together to create something that works well for their system. This is like who's running the show when the men are away, and it's the women who are running the show when the men are away. We have traveling and the men exploring and traveling and taking things and doing things, but the women are having to honor things and do things different, and sometimes men don't come back from whatever this is. I'm getting energy. It's like if men were to go off to do business or to do war, but it doesn't feel like crusades. It doesn't feel like the crusades. It feels earlier than that. It feels more ancient than that, and it feels like a different part of the world to me. There's gardens that are there. Lots of gardens, lots of interesting use of water. It feels like a Petra type of thing. I don't know if that's even right. Having a really, really strong connection with the other side. This is something that because you have this abandonment issue early, I think you see your mother, even though she's crossed over. I think you see your mother who's crossed over, has lost, but you broker deals, and she acts as almost like an angel for you, wakes you in the dreaming night, in the dreaming space, helps you discern things, helps you know who more to trust, how to go forward. Isn't very far from you in the astral, strongly connected still. Now there's a deal made in this bargain that needs to be struck, and understand that it needs to be struck. There's matriarchal society in the smaller culture, in the bigger culture, the broader culture. There's some cultures that are run by the patriarchy, not as we would see it now, but there are rulers and leaders of both genders in place, big ones. And it's no small thing. I mean, we all think about maybe Alexander the Great and Cleopatra, and we think about all of these great historic names, but there's a lot of names that didn't get in the history books that are what we're using now. Somebody who would have the wisdom and shrewdness about them, understanding the game. Visionary again, visionary is coming through, like there she is on the bed figuring out the game. There's something about the water and farming the waters and using and cultivating from the waters, and that helps the gardens. I don't know what that's all about. That's really trippy. Let's get into here for a minute. Let's get into a context. This could be like... medicine woman in a karmic relationship. This is a lover that you had. I don't think it's the only lover you had, but this is a lover that you had. This is somebody that would go off. This is something that is running the trades. You understand garden stuff. You understand medicine woman stuff. It's huge, huge, huge. You understand, like, whether there's value in saffron or spices. Lessons and blessings. You understand times and seasons really well, and times apart. You understand this in an epic way. Circles and cycles and seasons, and you have like an intuitive knowing. It's like you know how to read the weather. like you would see a storm before the storm came. You would know if there was a particularly dry season. It's like you are your walking version of the farmer's almanac. You would know these things. You were tricky. You were tricky. Some people thought that women were put in a certain place and it was the gilded cage and that's where they're supposed to be, but you were so tricky. It was like you would talk to them right here and be like, yeah, this is me in the gilded cage. Look at what's going on. And so if somebody got in their way, you would mentally trap them. You reverse the role, flip the thing, and pretty soon, boom.
Aztec?
I don't think so. I think we're like somewhere, I think we might be somewhere like Samaria. I don't think Aztec, because I'm getting more shades towards the maybe the Egyptian area of the world, but I don't know that it's straight up Egypt. That's what I'm getting though. I'm getting Fertile Crescent, that kind of energy, that kind of, I don't know exactly the land space, but this comes up and this feels more like Nile than anything else. It doesn't feel like Gulf of Mexico, all right? I'm going off our current map and our current understandings. Areas that are dry now would not have been dry then. This is a long time ago. I think we're predating even like Christianity here. The images I've got I'm working with, but I think we're before that. There we are. There's the karmic relationship coming back again.
She said, I have ties there.
I wish I knew my map better, but sometimes it's good that I don't, because the story will come. This person that traveled alone, this lover of yours that travels and travels back and forth, and you're running this kind of, you're handling business on the home front, you're handling business where it's at. I don't think that you guys actually ever get married and have kids. In this particular life, I don't think you have kids. I think in this particular life, you are meant to lead strong and you're the shit. And this fond farewell that you bid over and over, and then the traveling that he does, you're doing things that's creating some sort of networking that's important to the structure of things, important to the prosperity of the average Joe. And there you are again. This is somehow one of your very strong soulmates. I want you to be able to see these cards so you get it. The imagery might be a little bit more modern context, but the timing that I'm getting for this relationship sure as shit isn't. So show those pretty strongly. Over and over and over, walking side by side, the pair of you. The pair of you. And for the good of the commoner is what it is that you're doing. He'll walk alone and walk whatever he needs to do for a while, then come back to you, and you're running things with this group of women. This is like how you would run. He would present like something like that. The common people, he would do what's good for the common people. You were the person that had the higher level of power to broker in this time. And because you used your skill set well, your energy, your knowledge well, you were able to lead in an interesting way. The thoughts and the things that you would bring forward, the way you thought about what needed to be done, people would understand and they would get in line with you pretty good. They would understand what needs to happen because your wisdom had proved itself out over the course. This agreement between the women is coming up now. There's somebody that's like a power couple that's an older power couple that you have learned from this one older woman, because your mother died when you were young, but you have connections to your mother still. And then on the other side, and then there's this older couple that's this power couple. They've been looking after you well. She's part of the circle of the women that looks after you when you're young, that also helps you connect. Smart cookies. She says, don't leave it to the men. Don't leave it to the old men. Don't leave it to the priests or the men. They aren't the medicine women. They aren't birthing things. They aren't the ones that are bringing forth life. They aren't the ones. They do so little in They do so little in contribution of the thing. We're the ones that are the strong, the ones that are the warrior. We're the ones that call the shots. We're the ones that broker the deals. We're the ones that broker the peace. We're the ones that broker between life and death. We stand at the threshold. We stand at the threshold. There we are. And she knows it, and she's strong in it, and that's just how it is for your culture and your community. You know it, and you know it. It's not a deal where something is dealt out in a different kind of way. She's had to deal with some of this, and they didn't find her as appealing or as pretty. They found her to be brash. They found her to be harsh, and maybe she presented things in a different way, and something about her features was a little brash or harsh. So they didn't listen as well. By the time you came around, you were very, very beautiful. You come around and you bring the same ideas that are hers forward, but in a way that's a little softer. They've heard them before. They've had some time, and they're like, oh, okay. That's why that they are more pliable. The world is more pliable for you. This is you again, and even though it does not look like you, it doesn't look feminine in any way. This is you. This is you as a peace broker and battler. And you don't really fight in that kind of armor, but you fight to strive to get the deal. You know that you are in the thick of it. That is, so much is on your shoulders because of the group of men leaving so often. The nest, whether you choose to burn it down or not, it is your choice, and when it is time to go, it will go. This means the relationships, the deals, the bargains that need to be struck are on your terms. The degree to which that you dance with the devil, the degree to which you negotiate a deal, it's on your terms. You concoct and create and know how to do things really, really well. This one, if you had not had your mother visiting you so much in this strong woman, you would have probably been a more villainous character in this life, if not for the influence of these two strong, strong women. The connection that you have with your mother and the strong woman here keeps you on the side of the angels, so to speak. There really is this balancing in this particular time frame where you're balancing and harnessing your energy, your own individual power. It's not that you don't have it, it's that you almost have too much of it. And so you're learning to balance a just and fair way of using it. You've come through a hard time where there has been women paying the price, really, really paying the price at a hard, hard time. And it's like, it's the phoenix energy of the women who have to burn down the nest and offer it for the next generation. You start to understand legacy and dynasty and protection of what comes down the track. You understand it in the fields first. Of course, of course. Oh, look at this. You understand it in the fields first. You understand it by what you bring to the harvest, what you offer, and the devoted service that you would have to the next generation, even though you didn't have children. You did it in a way that was broader to the community. Again, the lovers come through. What's this about? You and your person are really, really well connected. The people, the women around you aren't always as well connected with their persons, with their partners of choices that they've made. You understand that things need to be cultivated in a relationship, and there needs to be a huge amount of freedom, but that's not an easy thing for other people to give to each other. And so for you, you allow the freedom to create and cultivate, and you always come back and you always come back. Others have been hurt before, and sometimes it's hard for you to understand and be patient with that. You do what you can in creating the gardens, creating prettiness, creating this situation that works for everyone around. It's like there's many people creating good balms. I'm getting ointments, things that would be nourishing, and you're all working together cohesively in that. But some people don't understand relationships in the same way. They haven't figured that part out. And it's not your job. It's not your job to relationship teach them. It's your job to just stand in this spot strongly, lead and stand strong. You ponder this a lot. You think about this a lot. Like, why am I so fortunate and they so not? And you want more fairness and what would be more just for them, but you can't create this for them. You have been known to chase off an idiot or two on the behalf of someone else. You have been known to tell somebody, hey, loser, hit the bricks. In whatever way that would be. I think you've dealt with a few friends that have been through a really difficult time, like harsh, difficult relationships that were physically harsh to them, and gotten rid of a few people that were like, no, you're done. You don't come back. Yeah. This was part of what your crusade, so to speak, was, even though it wasn't during that time frame. It was advocating, standing up for, fighting when others couldn't fight. You would stand up and fight for these women to get rid of these schmucks if there was schmucks that came through. I think the town that you were in was not too far off, perhaps a travel and trade route. Not too radically far. And it probably offered a lot of respite. But then because it offered respite, people would interact, and if there were sometimes undesirables in and among the town that some of your friends or some that were close in your community would fall for, that needed to be dealt with. Anything else? This is going to be a real different kind of look in these cards for these kind of terms, but let's see. The charitable giver for the person that has the heartache and loss. The charitable giver, it's like, this is what you were, even if it required you dumping water over their head to get their attention to wake up. What else? There's a place that you would go, a certain kind of creek. I'm getting two forks, a fork in the river, a fork in the riverways where you would take someone and talk to them about what is the path they want to choose. This fork in the road, and this is like, you would take them to a space where they would make the choice for themselves to follow a path that was truer to their own heart. That much you could do. That much you could do. And sometimes they would choose to go independently. Sometimes they would choose to say somebody needs to get out of their life. You would help them find wisdom in that way to the best ability. And you would show them through nature around them. You didn't do this in any kind of pious way. It's just like, here's the layout. Here's some options. What do you want to do? It acted as a real stabilizing element. Anything else? Huge celebrations. There's this certain space, and this feels like this tree and this space. This is only for women. This is only for women. Men would not go here. Men would not even be allowed anywhere near here. They wouldn't even know where this is. This is a secret space where only for women would be here. This is where, like, biblically it might be compared to like the red tent, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But this is where you would go to connect with your mom. And it's where you would go, like, to connect with other women, to have these moments where the circle of life energies come forward and people really understand, get a sense of perspective. And it's near this two forks, whatever this is. I don't know what. It's an offshoot of one river, another river. That's what I'm getting. Anything else? The biggest medicine that you had was something that would not necessarily cure a thing, but help people get their strength. You'd stand in your own power. And if it needed burned to the ground, you'd burn it to the ground. You standing in your own power was huge, huge, huge for them. Huge. Huge amounts of joy, huge amounts of gathering things up, and a gathering things up from weird places and weird corners. The lessons that you would gather and the way you would listen to each other. That's what would be helpful. Sometimes just because you hadn't experienced that perspective didn't mean somebody else that was in this group hadn't. And it feels like there was like 8 of you there, 7 or 8 of you. Now it feels like 2 of them, mom, older woman lady that I mentioned before, and then you. So there's 5 others that are in this really tight group that this is strong matriarchal tribal power that sets a space in the world, sets a place, keeps things balanced in a very big way, in a very right kind of way. That's what I got. Wow. Huge. And always this outpouring. That's what come through. That's complete. Wow. Beautiful. This is the space. This is the energy of the space you would have created, although it might look differently. That's the best I can give you energetically of the space. And this would be the closest to what the geography would have actually looked like without the little pavilion. It would have been there in nature. It wouldn't have had to be man-made or constructed. It would have been there in nature. That's what I got.
Woo!
Yeah. Holy cow.